Now, I'd like to close in the last 9 minutes that we have by sharing with you an insight I had with regard to the commandment to love the convert. Converts have a very difficult time of it. I don't know if anybody knows a convert, if many of you are Gerim. And the Torah knew this in advance. And the rabbis like to point out, rabbis like to point out that the sages in the Talmud pointed out that on 36 occasions, the Torah says, do not hurt the feelings of a convert, of a stranger, because they feel vulnerable, and don't be insensitive, and all kinds of stuff. Now, and that's fine. That's very true. Okay, good. There's no question. But being sensitive to the needs of another person, or being merciful or compassionate, is not love. It's valuable, but it's not love. Love requires a relationship. Love requires an object. Love is a higher level of relating to another person than compassion. Rabbi, it's a little bit off the example, but the late Rav Adin Steinsaltz, in the commentary on the Torah commentaries of the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, says, you can have compassion on the dead lizard because it died, but you're not going to love the dead lizard. It's a different emotion. So yeah, the Torah it takes its first step at trying to make sure you don't hurt the feelings or be sensitive to the feelings of the person who's just trying to move in, and they feel like they don't belong, and you want to make them feel at home, and all that is true, but that's not love. So what is involved when the Torah does say love the convert? What does it mean? What does it mean? So I would like to share with you an insight that I had, which is based on a grammatical insight which a teacher of mine, Professor Bernard Septimus, once noted, and I will mention what it is in a second to you. But in order to do so, I need to read to you a passage from Maimonides. Anybody knows me knows how it starts with Maimonides. Okay, the Maimonides in the 13th chapter of the Book of Holiness says as follows. There were three actions that were required to allow the children of Israel to enter the covenant. Oh, you know what? I think I have an English translation, so it'll make life a little bit easier. Yes, I forgot I had this. Okay, sorry to be. I think he has it here. This is the Maimonides reader of my teacher, Professor Isidore Twersky. Nope, doesn't have it here, so too bad. So there are three things a person has to do in order to be able to convert. One is to, if it's a male, to undergo circumcision. Both men and women have to be immersed in a mikveh, and when there's a temple, you bring a sacrifice. Okay, and then he goes on and discusses how do I know this? And then he adds, then he throws in the most important passage. V'chein lidorot, and so it is in all subsequent generations. Kishiyirtzeh ha'akom, when a non-Jew wants to enter into the covenant, and to envelop himself under the wings of the holy presence, and he accepts the burden or the yoke of the Torah, he needs circumcision and immersion in a mikveh, and bring up sacrifice. And so, woman, immersion in a mikveh and a sacrifice. How do I know that the same procedure that the Israelites underwent at Mount Sinai applies to converts today? Shneamar kachem kager. That on one occasion the Torah says that you are just like converts, or you should be treated just like converts. Now, the double comparison, there's a word kaf twice here. The letter kaf exists here twice. The use of the kaf here is somewhat unusual and far more indicative, far more important, and far more repercussive than one would think. One could interpret that verse. One could interpret that verse on the face of it by saying, yeah, okay, the Torah is just simply saying, en passant, that you should do the converts undergo the same process as the Israelites did in the 13th century on the way out of Egypt at the foot of Mount Sinai. The problem is that other occasions when this sort of like emphasized double kaf, kachem kager, comes up, it means more than that. It means absolute and total identity. It means that the status of an Israelite at Mount Sinai is precisely the same. And the experience of that Israelite is precisely the same as that of the person who joins the Jewish people later. Now let's think about that for a minute. Let's think about that for a minute. The Israelites who went out of Egypt, the rabbis tell us that not all of them wanted to go. In fact, on the contrary, according to Rashi, 80% of the Israelites in Egypt decided, I like it here. I prefer it here. I'm Egyptian. Yeah, I'm a slave, but someday I'm going to get out and I'm going to get to the top, and I'm not going with you. I'm an Egyptian. I'm not an Israelite. You guys can go and do whatever you want. I'd rather be a slave in Egypt to the greatest power on earth than to be an Israelite and go off in the desert with this crazy man Moses. The 20% who left, it was hard for them. They also got pushed, but they made a principled decision to leave everything that they knew. And it's hard for a slave. Everything that they knew and everything that they had known, to commit themselves to God, to commit themselves to a people, and to go follow Moses, first to Sinai and then to the conquest of the land of Israel, where they would set up a land according to the Torah. That was a commitment which was existential in nature. And it meant leaving behind members of the family who said, we're not going with you. What are you, crazy? We think that it was all a party, because we watched the Ten Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille, but this was not easy. And it required guts and gumption and commitment. And that's exactly what Gerim today have to do too. They essentially fulfill the blessing that was given by Moses to Levi, that they ignored their families to do the right thing. So the verse says, "Ha'omer la'aviv limo lo ritiv et achav lo ikir bet banav lo yada ki shabuim ratecha v'ritzchalin tzoru." That they told their parents, "I don't know who you are," and they alienated themselves from their brethren and from their children, because the first thing for them was to join the covenant, or to protect the covenant in that case, of God. And so the same thing with the convert who gives up everything, and it's not easy. And it remains not easy. And nevertheless, it's an act of incredible courage. It's an act of incredible bravery. So on that level, Kachem Kager, both you and the Gerim, I mean the original Jews, and the Gerim are on the same level, except they're not. Except they're not. Because people that are born Jews have a very bad tendency to be snobby, to be suspicious, and to discriminate mildly, but still hurtfully, against those who had to do what those of us who were born, lucky enough to be born Jews, had to do 3,500 years ago. They do it now and undergo it every day. I think that's, so what's Ahavat Hagir? Maimonides, finally, again, Maimonides. The Rambam in the end of the first book of the Mishnah Torah talks about coming to know God. And he says, Lefia Deya, that you basically, you only know God to the degree that you understand Him or you're intimate with Him. Now, how that works is another story. It's not relevant right now. But that is true in human relations as well. You can't really love a person if you don't know them, if you don't identify with them, if you don't understand them, if you don't understand what's going on with them in their heads. The mitzvah of Ahavat Hager, then, if you want to love a ger, you have to appreciate them. You have to find out what they're about. You have to give them support. You have to be there in order to support them when they have to deal with the drastic changes in their lives. And the idea of Ahavat Hager of loving the convert, is that by us understanding and becoming intimate with them and knowing what they need and what they have and what they've done and what they've given up in order to be able to be part of our people, from that intimacy and knowledge, as the Rambam says, according to one version, L'fi Adeya Tiyeh Ha'ava. To the degree that there's knowledge, and that doesn't just mean like objective knowledge, it means intimate knowledge, and support, and appreciation, we can grow, those of us who were born Jews, and they will feel supported, and together on Shavuos, everybody can recommit themselves to the original covenant. I think that's what Ahavat Hager is about. Anyways, we will resume here after Shavuot. Oh, no, we won't. Well, yes, we will, but those of you who are watching from Chutz La'aretz will see it on Tuesday. In the meantime, be well, and Chag Sameach.